We have seen this time and time again. The partner that gave us one of the worst relationships that we can think of, and then within a week, a month, a couple months of us breaking up, they're already married or in another relationship. What does it mean when the avoidant marries the next person, especially if they marry them quickly? That's what we're talking about today. If you are new here, my name is Megan. I am the Conscious Love Coach, and I am here to help you turn your breakup into the best glow up you have ever seen. And today we are talking about avoidant attachment. It is a hot topic. It is the topic that normally gets the most views. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's because people are fixated on how to fix people, or, negative energy gets the most amount of attention. I like to think that these avoidant videos get more views because we are more aware of the way people's behavior affects us. Sometimes we are our biggest blind spot, right? Like we don't know the way that we behave in love until someone calls us out on it. So when we think about these partners we're with, if we end up with avoidant partners, especially if we end up with avoidant partners, it can feel like we're showing up as the perfect partner and we are dealing with someone that we don't deserve, because anxiety is a behavior that plays out in so many different ways. If you are not self aware, then you may have no idea how anxiety is playing out for you. Hell, you may not even realize that you have anxiety. That was me for the majority of my life. So, anyway, the avoidant partner has moved on to the next, and you are like, what gives? Now, first of all, I understand that watching an avoidant marry or move on, especially when the wounds of that relationship are still fresh for you, can be like an emotional whiplash. But let me start this video off by letting you know whatever issues that avoidant had in the relationship with you, they have carried it on to the next relationship. They're not going to get their happily ever after while you are stuck licking your wounds. No, the issues that they had in your relationship, they're going to pick back up in the next. Just give it some time. Now, an avoidant moving on or being in another relationship is actually more common than you think. And it's mostly because it's never about the feelings. It's not about, the avoidant really wanting to be in a relationship. It is more so about the avoidant either trying to remain detached from their feelings or trying to keep up appearances. So, reason number one is the next person does not require as much growth. If you were extremely emotionally expressive, if you were someone who was very introspective, or if you were someone who was living a very conscious lifestyle, then the avoidant is going to feel the amount of growth that is required to be with someone like you. Because every time you are showing up, like, I don't want to say the perfect partner, but every time you are showing up the way a person would in a relationship, it is highlighting in them all of the ways of which they don't want to show up. And not just that, showing up, being supportive, being emotionally available is also going to trigger some of the deepest fears within the avoidant. One of the deepest fears for an avoidant is the fear of being seen. And when you are showing up like that, what you are basically doing is saying, I see you, I want to see you, I want to support you. And it doesn't feel like support, it feels like smothering. So the next person is not going to challenge them. The person that they marry isn't going to challenge them. They're going to allow them to remain the same. So, what does that non challenging partner look like? Well, whenever the avoidant starts to pull back, or whenever the avoidant is becoming difficult to deal with, that partner is not going to challenge them. That partner is not going to come back at them or want to have these talks or want to explore their feelings. That partner is going to be quiet. That partner is going to give them their space. That partner is going to bottle up all of their own emotions, all of their feelings, for the sake of not rocking the boat, which is the relationship. That is how that partner stops or at least does not trigger the growth within the avoidant. Reason number two is the avoidant was backed into a corner. Being backed into a corner could look like one of the two got pregnant. Okay. Obviously, it's going to be the woman, but it's not always the man who's avoidant, right? So, somebody got pregnant. Maybe there were societal or family pressures. Maybe there were financial pressures. The avoidant, when they do choose to finally get married, it is never because they are wanting to get married. Think about what marriage is. Marriage implies growth. When you are committing to someone for the rest of your life, you are committing to all of the things that that person has within them that's going to trigger you and vice versa. So an avoidant is not going to willingly, I should say, willingly marry someone. No, they are going to marry someone out of convenience. And if an avoidant gets married almost immediately after a long-term relationship, that is the biggest detaching, or I should say deactivating. That is the biggest deactivating strategy, because what better way to get over one person than to get under another? And as an added little side note, because avoidants don't know how to regulate their own emotions, that in the beginning, when they are feeling those big feelings, they will hurry down the aisle, because that's what happens when a person can't regulate their emotions. They act upon whatever they are feeling. So in the beginning, the biggest emotion you are feeling is limerence. When you are insecurely attached, you think you're in love, but you're not. And if you acted upon the emotions that the first few months bring up, it looks like walking down the aisle. So, yeah, avoidance will sometimes use commitment as a way to avoid the inner work. When they find a partner that does not challenge them too much, then that is someone that they will get comfortable with. And once they're comfortable, now they don't have to worry about them because you're not worried about them. So, the third reason is a trauma bond versus peaceful coexistence. And this kind of touches on what I was just talking about. So, with an anxious and an avoidant situationship relationship, in the very beginning, there is this trauma dumping that is happening. The avoidant is recognizing the emotional openness within the anxiously attached person. And because the anxiously attached person is showing up so emotionally open and in touch with their feelings, the avoidant wants to do the same. They feel encouraged to show that side of them. So in the beginning, since they don't know how to regulate, their feelings, they start immediately going in with all of their hopes, their dreams, their fears, all of these things. And you are forging this connection because you feel like this person is telling you all of the things that they would not tell another person. The only issue is that you are getting that kind of information from someone way too soon. Like, there are certain things about, especially childhood trauma or just any kind of intimate topic, that a person just should not know after the first 2, 3, 4 dates. Hell, things that a person really shouldn't know within the first month. So when an avoidant finds a person that brings up that part of them, is kind of one of the most painful things that you can experience, because while you may feel like you all are growing closer, for the avoidant, what you are doing is activating some things within them that they might not have even known existed until that point. And once those things are activated, shit starts to get cray. Okay. They will back away, because it's not necessarily that they are going somewhere else to try to choose more love or try to choose a different love. What they're trying to choose is a different intensity. They can't get with the intensity of the relationship. In the beginning, they feel like they can, but what they don't realize is that they don't have the stamina. That is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have the energy to go the distance. Like, they don't have the drive to go the distance. they only have enough emotional capacity to sustain them, but a couple months at a time. So, yeah, the moment you start hearing about all of those fears and those hopes and those dreams and all of those really deep inner intimate things, that is the beginning of activating the deactivation strategies in an avoidant, because that will automatically start to bring up old unresolved childhood wounds. And as a side note, I want to let you all know that an avoidant can very much follow through with marriage while still having their emotional walls high. Avoidants don't know how to connect with people healthily. So when you think of marriage, marriage would look like a healthy union. It's the next step, right? In a relationship. Because avoidants are not looking to that next step, avoidants use things like marriage as a means to remain detached. So an avoidant getting married, the silence is not always a good thing. The marriage looks like someone who remained silent enough to get down the aisle, not someone who remained or got into a relationship because they were happy. Now, with that also being said, there is the chance that you might have been the catalyst for the avoidant. So, I have a video where I talk about how avoidants are typically the catalyst for anxiously attached people, but it can also end up on the other end as well. Sometimes you awaken things in an avoidant that an avoidant has to pull back from to do the reflection. And once they start doing the inner work, then they are ready to be in a healthy relationship. But one of the things, especially from the avoidance that I work with, is that when an avoidant is healing, one of the things that they are learning to heal is why those past relationships wouldn't have worked out. Even if you felt like you were showing up as the perfect partner, there is a reason why that relationship did not work out with that avoidant. So, normally when an avoidant heals, they don't go back to their past partners because they've already come to terms with why that relationship could never work. So, they then move on to the next, and that next, it could look like marriage. Now, the avoidant choosing to do the inner work, you being the catalyst, more often than not, this is not the case. However, there are more than a few times where this is the case. Avoidants sometimes have to come to their own reckoning behind their behavior, and their reckoning is going to come through people. There is a high possibility that you could be that person. More importantly, when we think about our ex partner, our ex avoidant partner moving on or marrying someone else, especially when we thought that we were going to be their end game, it is most important to think about the reframing of it. That as perfect as that person might have seemed, or as healthy as that relationship was, the healthy relationship wasn't just the part that you were present for, where you all were together. The part of the relationship is also the part that has led you here, the part that has left you confusing and questioning yourself, the part that has left you depressed. And the person of your dreams is not going to be a person that is ever going to have you relying on YouTube videos to decode their behavior. That's just not the way that love works. That's all I got for you today. This was kind of a short video, or maybe it wasn't short. I'm gonna be real. I just woke up from one of the most amazing naps of my life. And because I can't stop thinking about work, I thought, let me jump on and drop a video for you all. I try to look at some of the most commonly asked questions and try to provide videos for you all on that. So please, if there is something that you want to hear about specifically, drop it in the comments. I do read the comments. I try to respond to the comments. I'm gonna be real. I am a type B girl running a solo operation. So if you send me a comment, I don't respond, charge it to my head and not my heart. I mean, no harm by it, but I will look at something and say, I'm going to respond to that. And next thing you know, 30 days then pass by and I don't know what happened. So anyway, drop in the comments what you all want to hear next. Let me know some of your past pain about avoiding attachments, them moving on. Unfortunately, I was the one that they moved on to. My first ex husband happened because I got pregnant. but I've also been on the other end and watched my avoidant ex move on with the other person. So I've seen both sides of this dynamic play out. Anyway, my name is Megan. I am the Conscious Love Coach. And until next time, I will see you later.